All right. Shalom. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Islam to all the Moors. Shalom. I am DrYasapa. So let's go ahead and get started with Aquarius number 4. All right, Aquarius number 4. Give me a second, y'all. All right, Shalom. Hold on. Let me check the signal here. All right. And then we'll be in business. Give me one moment. Like and share the video, please. If you haven't subscribed, I'd like for you to subscribe now. Okay. And let some people know that we are here. We're going to get started right now. I know it's late, but this is the best I can do for my schedule right now. All right, y'all. So give me 1 minute here. All right, so we look good with the signal. Signal looks good. Give me 1 second. Let me check the settings for the comments, because sometimes y'all may have noticed there's a problem with the comments. So let's see if I can do anything to make it so that the comments will show up after the video, after the live stream. Sometimes the comments don't show. Let me see if I can do something. While I do this, y'all, let people know we're here, please. Okay, let some people know we're here, and then we're gonna get started. All right. Oh well. So here we are again, out of the Gospel and the Zodiac. I hope y'all can see it. The Gospel and the Zodiac. The link to the free PDF is in the description area of the video. Take a good look at this. Let me make sure. Take a good look at it. I would like for you to download this, okay? Give me 1 second. Download it, print it, so you'll have it so that when we do these live streams, you'll be able to follow along, because sometimes I do a screen share. You absolutely need to print the PDFs, okay? All right, you absolutely need to print them. No, I lost my page. All right, okay, so here we are. So we are on page, well, before I go there, this is Aquarius, right? The text is based upon the Gospel of Mark, which I've heard some scholars say that Mark is the first gospel. But, you know, I don't know if that's true or not. But Mark is supposed to be the first, and then the others adjusted their stories or their accounts to Mark. Okay, so Mark 13, verse 1 through chapter 14, verse 16. Okay, y'all? All right, let me find my place again. 1 second, I lost my place when I closed my book. Okay, yeah. So here we are on page 192. Well, there's a long delay, y'all. There's a real long delay. So page 192, all right? Page 192. So I'm going to begin with the second paragraph on page 192. All right. These are the noble ideas, and as we have mentioned above, many people think that they will characterize the age of Aquarius. So go back and watch video number 3, and you'll get to see about the characteristics of Aquarius. It's cold, wet, oppressive, all right? It's cold, wet, and oppressive, all right? It is the culmination. Well, it takes place after the culmination of the terrible things that happen in Capricorn, right? That the corporations do, okay? So let's continue. These are noble ideals, and as we mentioned above, now those noble ideals come from page 191, all right? These are the characteristics of a man or a woman born under Aquarius, which is a person who's not thinking about their own best interest. They're thinking about the group, etc. These are the noble ideas that the author is referring to. Can y'all go back and refresh your memories on that by watching video number 3 on Aquarius. This is a picture, let me go back. These are the noble ideals. And as we mentioned above, many people think that they will characterize the age of Aquarius. Now we know that that's not true. Those noble ideas or those noble characteristics of people born under Aquarius don't hold water. No pun intended. When you consider Capricorn, all right? Now remember, Capricorn and Aquarius, these are zodiac signs or constellations that are visible. How about if I start saying it like that? To take the spookism out of it, all right? The constellation that we call Capricorn and the constellation that is called Aquarius, these are visible in the winter months, all right? Winter is dark, cold, and winter is dangerous. A lot of things die and suffer during the winter, right? So this is what he's talking about. These characteristics will prevail, all right? Remember, evil occurs in darkness, and JC is the Christ figure of the Gospels, right? JC is Capricorn, all right? Corporation, Catholicism, corporations, right? And the Dogons or Raphaim. Okay, so let's continue. All right. On the threshold of which we now stand, we now stand on the threshold of Aquarius. This is the age of Aquarius. Y'all know the song? All right, so let's begin. Let's continue. But there is nothing automatic about these things. We may be experiencing a new awareness of our interrelatedness. Remember the pressures, the pains, the terrible happenings that occur in Capricorn. In other words, the oppression of the corporations, the oppression inflicted on the people by the corporations will cause so much distress, will terrorize so many people that they begin to realize that they're better off helping each other and that they need each other. In other words, the Social Security, the SSI, and whatever else the corporate nation states are giving people, that's going to be taken away, dried up, and you're going to be out on your own. That's when you're going to realize that you better be nice to the people around you, right? This is your interconnectedness, where the group becomes more important than the person, all right? So the individual aspirations for greatness or for this or for that become secondary or tertiary to the need to survive. And the power the people begin to realize is in their group, right? In their group or nationality, all right? Nationality becomes of utmost importance, all right? And then why is that? Why is that? It's because of treaty benefits, right? And constitutional protections, all right? Treaty and constitutional protections, all right? In our case, as Yasharala or Moors, we have the protection of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1836, all right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's continue. We may be experiencing a new awareness of our interrelatedness. Now that's through trauma, y'all, but the experience has to be appropriated individually and collectively. If it is so, if it is to become anything more than just a sentimental longing for justice and equity, Let me read that again. I didn't read that as well as I would have liked to. We may be experiencing a new awareness of our interrelatedness, but the experience, that's the experience of interrelatedness, I need you and you need me, has to be appropriated individually and collectively. That means each one of us have to have that same realization that we need each other, that same sense of nationality, nationalism, group identity, group economics, right? That same fight, okay? Individually and collectively as a group. This is what the author is saying here. If it is to become anything more than just sentimental longing for justice and equity, well, y'all should know that when they really start putting the screws on people and take away that SSI, that welfare, and whatever else you might be getting, when they take that away, or even your pay, your salary, or however you whatever you get. See, when that's gone, you're gonna face reality. You're gonna face nature, right? Now you're back in nature, okay? And nature's law will prevail. All right. So let's continue. In order to become vehicles for the transformation of society, we have first to transform ourselves. Like Michael Jackson said, I'm looking at the man in the mirror, right? I'm asking the man in the mirror to change his ways, okay? We cannot pour out what we don't possess. You can't get blood out of a turnip, and you can't get love out of a person who doesn't love themselves. Right? You cannot get concern for your group out of a person who's not concerned for himself. Y'all got it? So it's that threat. It's that threat, the realization that you can expire, be taken out, starve to death, be deleted. Is that realization that can happen to you, that creates the motivation for you to change your mindset, to realize the interconnection, but not just realize it, because a lot of people realize it, but to act on it, and act on it immediately, frequently, and consistently as a means of life or a lifestyle. All right? That's called getting the screws put to you, having the floor drop from the bottom. See, everything falls out. Y'all got it? Let me check something. Give me a, all right, that just made me remember something. Go to page 89. No, hold on. I'll come back to that. Let's stay here. I'll come back to that later, okay? Let's stay here. Such transformation is the goal of the spiritual life in toto, but it has particular application in the Aquarius phase, where we are called to assess our contribution to the collective, and more importantly, our willingness to offer our contributions to the collective or to the group or to the nationality. Y'all got that? All right. So in other words, it's going to have to be such extreme pressure, such extreme or traumatic pain that it forces you out of nature to change your whole mindset. So can you imagine what type of torture, trauma, and tragedy you're going to experience, especially those of you who are calling yourselves African Americans and Black Americans? Let me try to get myself centered in the camera. Hold on, y'all. I'm not sure what's happening. My computer screen is locked up, so that's, my image is still. So sorry, y'all, I can't control this, all right? So you're just gonna have to bear with me. I don't know where I'm at in the camera. So if y'all have anything you want to say, put it in the chat. I'm going to check it periodically, okay? So put it in the chat. Give me 1 second. Yeah, give me 1 second, y'all. Sorry about this. Y'all let me know in the chat if my position on the screen is okay, or if I'm halfway in or halfway out, or y'all let me know, okay? Because I can't tell my all right. Anyway, here we go. In order to become vehicles for the transformation of society, we have first to transform ourselves. Now that's going to be done through external forces, through trauma, tragedy. We cannot pour out what we do not possess. Such transformation is the goal of spiritual life in toto, but it has particular application in the Aquarius phase where we are called to assess our contribution to the collective. In other words, what did you do? Why did you do it? Did you do it enough or well enough? Okay. How was it received? Was it effective? More importantly, our willingness to offer that contribution. But now let's take a look at the spiritual life. Now, y'all should know that Hebraically, spiritual is referencing breath. Breath is the art of breathing. Breathing is life. So the art of living, okay? Now, I don't know what this author is talking about, but when you see spirituality, you should be thinking along those terms, all right? Because other than that, what is spirituality? What is spirituality? Right? It's the worship of an external deity or your relationship with an external deity. Your alarms should go off anytime you're talking about reverence to an external deity. That puts you in direct violation of the first commandment. Don't bring another power before my face. All right. Although you think you're worshiping what you think is the Most High or the creator of the universe, but you're not. All right. You are not. Okay, I've already gone through capital G-O-D, lowercase g-o-d, Zeus, Isus, JC in Greek is Isus. My understanding is that when you go back to ancient Greek, Isus means S-U-N, son. But that's a long story. That gets into Wudin, the Tetragrammaton, Aton, A-T-O-N, and a whole bunch of other deities that are stacked on top of that. All right, but let's continue so we don't have to get bogged down in that conversation. So drastic is the change implied here that it cannot be achieved without turmoil. Y'all see that? Now the author is being he's putting on the fluff and the honey. He calls it turmoil. I think it deserves words like tragedy and trauma. As Liz Green tells us, before we can experience brotherhood, we must first go through the long and bloody process of discovering why we have never been able to experience brotherhood. Now, this is not talking about Moors. I'm talking about all of the houses of the Moors, okay? All houses of Moors, all Genesis chapter 2 Moors, the rightful heirs, okay? This person, the author, I suspect is a hybrid troglodyte Paleolithic colonist. And that's what they are wherever they go, because they are not indigenous to any place. They're not Genesis chapter 2, they're Genesis chapter 1. All right. No individual becomes conscious of himself instantaneously and without suffering. Well, I disagree with that too. And no collective does either. So in other words, the author is saying right here is that each man and each woman must suffer before they know who they are, right? and every group must suffer before they know who they are. My disagreement is here. My disagreement is here. Everything in this material world was perfect. It was perfect, okay? Now it's in the decline. So if it was perfect, that means we all knew who we were. We got along, okay? We got along. So that's my disagreement. But this line of thinking is an evolutionary line of thinking, which assumes or assert that everything has a beginning. And that's absolutely not true. Everything does not have a beginning. And that might sound wild to some of you. Okay, that might sound really wild and out there because you've never thought about it. But anyway, that's another story, and I don't have time to get into it. Maybe I'll get into that a little bit later in another video. I'm pressed for time right now. So let's continue. If something must die, then it's going to raise a hell of a fuss in the process. In other words, that something is going to fight back with everything it's got to live, right? And if something is being born, okay, so mommy's pregnant and baby wants to come out, okay? And ain't nothing gonna stop that baby from coming out, right, ladies? Nothing's gonna stop it when it's ready to come out, when he or she rather is ready to come out, okay? And if something is being born, he or she is going to cause pain to the thing or to the woman giving birth. It may be that Aquarius will bring us the awareness that we are indeed part of a vast, interconnected life entity, both biologically and psychologically. Well, the Moors, all families, we already know this, right? We know what group does not know this, right? We know that. We know who they are. If you don't know who they are, just go back and examine history. Okay, you'll see who the violent robbers and thieves and murderers are. All right, and that's who these people are. Well, I won't even say people. Remember, scripture says the people who are not a people. These are hybrid, troglodyte, Paleolithic colonists, or hybrid troglodyte niggers, right? It may be that Aquarius will bring us the awareness that we are indeed part of a vast, interconnected life entity. Well, we've known that, both biologically and psychologically. But the awareness is going to force up everything in them, not us, in them, which obstructs them from living their vision. I just want to make the distinction between Genesis chapter 2 and Genesis chapter 1, y'all. All right. Genesis chapter 2 is man and womb man, made from the earth. All right. Genesis chapter 1 is the hybrid troglodyte nigger, memorialized as Han Human, okay, in Hindi mythology. Okay. The Neanderthal, the Paleolithic caveman, okay, and the hybrid troglodyte nigger. All right. So make the distinction. The trauma produced by radically changing the focus of our life is evident whenever there is a change of human consciousness. I agree with that. As symbolized by the concept of astrological ages. See the forgotten language of the stars. Whenever the equinoctial point moves from one constellation to another, we are collectively obliged to come to terms with the principles embodied in that new constellation. So the equinoctial points, that would be the vernal or the spring equinox, 12 hours a day, 12 hours a night, and the autumn equinox, right? In the fall, which is 12 hours a day, 12 hours of night, all right? So that's gonna be seen at sunrise, right? or during when the sun is coming up in the spring, okay, in the spring of each new year. But at 0 degrees at the equator, you can see that phenomena. The sun will come there twice, right? The sun will be 90 degrees above the equator twice a year. And then at the tropics, Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn, once a year it's there, okay? So every approximately 2,150 years or something like that, y'all check that number, a new astrological age occurs. So this is what the author is referring to. So this is the celestial equator, which is a projection outward of the Earth's equator. So every March, let's say every March 19, 20, 21, maybe 22, every approximately 2,150 years, a new constellation is going to rise at the eastern horizon. All right. All right. It'll rise at the eastern horizon. Every approximately 2,150 years, you'll see a new constellation. All right. A new constellation. Now we are in Pisces. I heard somebody the other day say we're in Aquarius. Okay. So let's continue. That's what the author is talking about. So every time a new constellation appears, that every cycle, 2,150 years or so, that new constellation has its own energetic characteristics, and it has its own energetic effects on the earth and all living things on the earth. This is the what's being said here. For example, where do we see this? We see this with the moon. The moon has an energetic effect on the oceans, right? Rise and fall of the tides, etc. The moon also has energetic effects on women, in turn, and also men, circadian rhythm, the woman's menstrual cycle. All of these are affected or regulated by the moon. I don't know if you guys know that, but just how, nobody knows. The circadian rhythm, when we sleep, when we wake up, okay? So for someone to say that planets do not affect man and the earth, this is the person who doesn't know what they're talking about. All right, so let's continue. I find my place again. So y'all can Google search what the circadian rhythm is, okay? Okay, this inevitably means radically breaking with the past. So every 2,150 years, these new energetic effects caused by the new constellation on the horizon, the new zodiac sign on the horizon does what? It inevitably means radically breaking with the past. That means your past way of thinking, being, doing. Radically breaking with the past process, which can never occur painlessly. Y'all got that? Now I agree 1,000% with that. This applies to the ending of any cycle of human life, including the tiny cycles of an individual existence. The new can only be accepted if the old is allowed to die. But Aquarius, how do you pronounce this? The penultimate sign does not symbolize the end of a cycle. It really signifies openness to the end. Openness to the end, preparedness for it, willingness to accept the pain that the end will involve. That sounds like the process of dying. That sounds like the process of dying. These ideas are reflected in the Saturnian rulership of Aquarius. In other words, Aquarius, the constellations that are called Aquarius, are ruled or governed by the planet Saturn. Saturn is the planet that's furthest away from the sun. It's huge. It has rings around it. It's also dark and cold. So you can correlate Saturn with Capricorn and Aquarius. In the last chapter, we noticed how Saturn symbolized structure and order, and how this was in keeping with its rulership of Capricorn. Y'all see how I was able to say that? I didn't know what was coming in the paragraph, but if you know a few basic things about the ecliptic of the sun and what's happening at the summer solstice, the winter solstice, the vernal or spring equinox, and the fall or autumn equinox, you can know these things, okay? And if someone says otherwise, you already know that they either made a mistake, or they don't know what they're talking about, they got it wrong, or they're deceiving you, right? You already know it. Or they've been deceived, okay? So let's continue. But Saturn is also the planet of decay and death, all right? Winter months are dark, cold, brutal, and things die, right? Y'all got that? Saturn is also the planet of decay and death. There's your relationship to winter, Capricorn and Aquarius. And there is a certain appropriateness in its ruling two signs together. Okay, well, let's see what that appropriateness is. Like Janus, it seems to face both ways. In Capricorn, it represents the building up of structures. In Aquarius, Saturn represents their dissolution. So Capricorn is the building up of corporations. Corporations, and Aquarius is those corporate structures falling down. Now, who's going to make them fall down? Probably the same people or the same groups who built them up. They're going to replace them with something else. How can I say that? Because the House of Yasharala is under the curses, and nothing's going to change until you return to nature. And what does that mean? That means until you start following the Most High's laws. Natural law. In religion, y'all call it the commandments. All right? Until you start living your life according to the commandments, you return to natural law. All right? And that makes total sense, doesn't it? So let's continue. In modern astrology, this aspect of Aquarius has been appropriated by Uranus, or by Uranus rather, the planet of violent disruption. So Uranus is a planet of violent disruption. Remember those adjectives I used? Trauma, tragedy. In modern astrology, this aspect of Aquarius, that means the tearing down or the dissolution part, is what? Let me read it again. This aspect of Aquarius has been appropriated by Uranus or Uranus. So Uranus is involved in the dissolution or the tearing down. The planet of violent disruption and radical change, right? Remember, we're talking about changing of the mindset, changing of behaviors, ways of doing and being whenever that new constellation comes upon the horizon, right? Every 2,150 years or so. That's what we're talking about. All right, the planet of violent disruption and radical change, whose existence was unknown to the ancient world, but whose principle seems to have been associated with Aquarius from the earliest times. The footnote reads, the astronomer William Herschel discovered Uranus in 1781, but there is some evidence to suggest that at certain times and from certain points of the Earth's surface, Uranus is discernible with the naked eye. That's a citation from Reed, page 95. So it may well have been known to ancient initiates. So in other words, our ancestors knew about it. All right, so this is probably just some guy who took credit for it, which is nothing new. Together, Saturn and Uranus are said to rule Aquarius. So who rules Aquarius? Saturn and Uranus. Saturn and Uranus. Saturn is responsible for the destruction, the dissolution of all corporate structures. Uranus is responsible for the dissolution, the destruction, the dismantling of all corporate structures that were built during Capricorn. Okay? That were built during Capricorn. That's what the author is saying here. Together, Saturn and Uranus are said to rule Aquarius, the one signifying gradual erosion, the other sudden and unexpected destruction. Y'all got that? Sudden and unexpected destruction and also erosion. Now, Saturn, as the author points out, Saturn is the planet of decay and death. Decay and death. So decay takes time, doesn't it? Death can take time, right? Death can be immediate or it can be a long process. Decay is a long process, right? Decay is a long process. Erosion is a long process. You might think of rocks eroding, producing sand. So some things will be instantaneous, boom, bam, right in your face, and other things will erode, dissolve, be dismantled over time. And it is Saturn and Uranus that are responsible for that. This is what the author is telling us. The tension between structure and anarchy. Now, remember, we went through the meaning of anarchy. I don't remember what video it's in. Y'all go back and watch the video where I showed the meaning of anarchy along with its etymology, everything else. Anarchy here is being used connotatively. You absolutely must know what anarchy means. Its original meaning, its denotative meaning. You should know that. The tension between structure and anarchy, the tension between structure and sovereignty, the right to contract, which Aquarius symbolizes. Structure is what? Corporate oppression. Corporate oppression, the tension between corporate oppression, Catholic nation state oppression of sovereign, Genesis chapter 2, men and women. The battle between light and darkness. Let me repeat that. The battle between light and darkness. The battle between JC, the Christ, and the devil. The battle between JC, the Christ, and the devil. The battle between light and darkness. The battle between corporations, Catholicism, and nation states. And Genesis chapter 2, Moors, the rightful heirs of all land, resources, and energy on this planet. The tension between the groups we just talked about, which Aquarius symbolizes, can be detected in the work of Aquarian writers, who often seem to be breaking the stylistic conventions. James Joyce, born 2nd of February, 1882, is an obvious example. But Joyce's literary iconoclasm was anticipated by fellow Aquarian Lewis Carroll, born 27 January 1832, who invented the Antarctic wonderland. I think this is talking about the story, y'all, in which the laws of space, time, and logic that govern our familiar world are absent. In other words, natural laws disappear. Natural laws have been suspended. Natural laws have been suspended. And where there is no system, no logic, and no language itself, I'm going to repeat that, and language itself is a slippery and ambiguous medium. So what is that talking about? That's talking about the grammarians who come up with their own grammar rules, connotative meaning of words, and then all of a sudden, what do you have? You have a language where you're speaking one thing, let's say connotatively, but in law, you're speaking something completely different, and you're making contracts without even knowing it. Y'all got it? So everything is out of whack here. So this is the story of Alice in Wonderland. Alice's adventure is a grimly comic trip through the lawless underground that lies just beneath the surface of our constructed universe. This is quoting Wright, page 182. The world that confronts us in Mark chapter 13 bears some qualities, or bears some of the qualities of Alice in Wonderland, but without the grim humor. So I want to show you all a picture. This is on page 194. Page 194, figure 24, Saturn devouring his son. This is a picture of Saturn devouring or eating his son. This is by Goya. Let me show you all this. All right, so take a look at this. Saturn is eating his son. Now, I'm gonna hold it here because I need, there's a delay on the camera, so I'm gonna hold it until I can see the picture. I wanna make sure the image, that you guys can see the image, okay? So give me 1 second. If you're looking at it for a long time, don't worry about it. I just need to see that you guys can see it. All right, there's a delay. So give me 1 moment. I wanna make sure y'all can see this, okay? Give me 1 moment. Just take a look. I want you to see if you can see Saturn devouring his son. See it in the image? All right, so this is what we're dealing with. Give me 1 second. This delay is way too long, y'all. I don't know what's happening with this. I didn't realize it was this long. All right, so I hope y'all can see it. I'm getting tired of holding this book. So give me 1 moment. All right, so let's continue. Now remember, y'all, we're coming out of Mark chapter 13, verse 1 through Mark chapter 14, verse 16, all right? We are now on page 195. All right, I think I can finally see it. Hold on, I still don't see it. But anyway, we're gonna go through 195, all right? The spiritual lessons of Aquarius. Now your alarms should be going off. Whenever you see spiritual, You should know that that means absolutely nothing. They're using spiritual connotatively. Spiritual means breath. Breath is life, the art of living. All right. But anyway, we understand what they're talking about. The spiritual lessons of Aquarius, what do they mean? This is the worshiper, that person who's giving honor and worship, giving value, respect to some external man, woman, thing, power, or deity. That's what this spiritual thing is talking about. So let's read it, page 195. Oh, wonder, how many godly creatures are there here? How beauteous mankind is. Genesis chapter 2, mankind, the kind of a man, not a man. How beauteous mankind is. Y'all need to go back and watch the video I did with the Neanderthal on a stake, hanging on a stake. All right, with the Neanderthal hanging on a stake, it's going to give you the etymology of Semite or Semite. All right, it's connected here. Beauteous and mankind. How beauteous mankind is. Now you should also connect beauteous and mankind with monster, human, and Han, human. Make your correlations. Oh, brave new world that has such people in it. Well, they're not people, are they? No. Miranda in Shakespeare's The Tempest, Act 5, Scene 1. Now, y'all can take that however you want to take it. Chapter 13 of Mark presents more difficulties to the commentator than any other passage in the gospel. Uh-oh. To begin with, the whole chapter, that's Mark chapter 13, takes the form of a single discourse, familiar enough to the reader of John's gospel, but completely different from anything previously encountered in Mark. Uh-oh, so that sounds like some contradictions, right? In addition, there seems at first sight to be a change of emphasis. Now, that's always important. What's emphasized is always important, and you need to pay attention and take note of what is emphasized. No longer is the kingdom of God seen simply as an interior state. So listen up, y'all. Prior to Mark chapter 13, the kingdom of God is an interior state, a state, a condition of the mind. That's what's being said here. Growing within the individual like a mustard seed, quoting Mark chapter 4, verse 30 through 32. Instead, okay, so instead, here's the change. Here's the change. Instead, a cosmic dimension is introduced. First change, a cosmic dimension. What is this cosmic dimension? Cosmic means external, right? And in the heavens. External to the man or woman in the heavens. A cosmic dimension is introduced, and the Son of Man. Uh-oh, y'all, this is very problematic. And the Son of Man, here too, simply man, becomes a celestial, apple. How do you pronounce this, y'all? Apocalypse. Sorry, y'all. Figure. Do y'all see what this is saying? Do y'all see what this is saying? Do you see what this is saying? Apocalyptic. This is end time prophecy. So in other words, what no end time prophecy? Now all of a sudden there's an end time prophecy. And the cosmos is involved with this end time prophecy. Do y'all see that? Instead, a cosmic dimension is introduced, and the Son of Man, here too simply man, becomes a celestial, there's the cosmic dimension, a celestial apocalyptic figure at the appointed time will make his presence felt upon the earth. There you go. Now I've shown in that video that I did with Sarnetta that that all of the Abrahamic religions are a fraud. So the author is offering his evidence that there was no such thing as end time prophecy until now. Okay, y'all? Until now. So you Christians and you Hebrew Israelite Christians who are pushing this end time prophecy, you guys should deal with this because you have a problem here. There are many statements which appear to be prophecies of some future time. And these have fueled millenarians' expectations throughout the centuries. The millenarians are the 1,000-year reign of Christ, right? So there's a great tribulation, Armageddon, and then Christ rules for 1,000 years. This is what he's talking about. All right. So there are many statements which appear to be prophecies for some future times. All right. These prophecies, y'all call them precepts, precepts, and all of that. And these have fueled millenarian expectations throughout the centuries. In fact, this chapter in Mark, along with corresponding chapters in Matthew, specifically chapter 24 in Matthew, and Luke chapter 21, the book of Revelation, and the book of Daniel, all notoriously difficult to interpret, seem to be the basic textbooks of contemporary sectarianism. Many people within mainstream Christianity, too, consider that these particular parts of the Bible provide us with a timetable of events leading up to the Battle of Armageddon and the end of the world. Now, y'all go back and watch the video I did with Sarnetta, and you'll see the evidence that none of this is possible. And you'll actually see that these prophecies are outright deceit. You'll see the evidence. I went through that with the video that I did with Sarnetta. So y'all go back and watch that. All right, no such thing as end time prophecy. No such thing at all. All right, that's all Masonic stuff. Okay, all Masonic stuff. When President Reagan announced way before Perestroika that Russia was the evil empire and that the biblical signs of the end seemed to be evident, he sent a chill down every liberal spine in the Western world. Even St. Augustine believed in a literal, visible second coming of Christ. And he used to believe, I'm sorry, let me repeat that. And he used his belief, that's the belief in the second coming of Christ, to counter the argument that those who held that the earth was round, it couldn't be round, he said, because a returning JC would not be visible to those underneath. Okay, well, that's a side point. We're not going to get into whether the earth is flat or round. So I need to stop here, y'all. I got to go. Anyway, I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Islam to all the Moors. Shalom to all the Moors. Make sure y'all subscribe to the 101 Ancient Ibaryath streaming online course is available 24/7, or it's a series of 113 videos. Make sure you contribute your fiat, your finances to our project to write the book of the law in Ibaryath and in English with the honest, straightforward, easy to understand rendering. Okay, make sure y'all support that. Come visit us on Saturday, every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's free. You can come to a couple classes for free. Come check it out. The link to everything is in the description area of this video. Make sure y'all buy my books. Don't just buy one copy, buy multiple copies for yourself, friends, and families, okay? Get the information out, like and share the video if you haven't done so. Put some comments in the comment section, and I'll see y'all in the next one. The links to everything are in the description area of this video. I'm DrYasapa from Zion Law School, Islam to the Moors, and Shalawama.